So I want to continue where we left off the last video. So we found our equation, y squared equals 8x. Now again, I told you to be very careful when you plug this into your calculator. So if we wanted to solve from here, we have y squared equals 8x. So we need to take the square root. So y should be plus or minus the square root of 8x. Well, we can't really put that into our calculator. You actually have to put in two separate equations based on your plus or minus. So you should put in two equations into your calculator. So y is going to be positive square root 8x, and y is going to be negative square root 8x. So when you do these horizontal parabolas, you will have to put in two separate equations each time. And I found that I've got points at 8, 8, and at 8, negative 8. So not a lot for me to choose from. So there's a very, very rough picture of my parabola. Oh boy, so this one is hard because if you notice our scale is going by 2's, but our focus is going to be at 0, negative 1/2. So it's going to be kind of down there somewhere. And then our directrix is at y equals 1/2. So this is going to be somewhere about there. So from those two pieces of information, we know it's going to open down. Our vertex is 0, 0 because it's got to be halfway in between the focus and the directrix. Our p value, so since we are opening down, that means it's going to be negative. So again, if our vertex is at 0, 0, we look at the distance from our focus to the directrix and the, from our vertex to the focus and the directrix. So that distance is 1/2. So our p should be negative 1/2. Since it's opening down, that tells me that the x squared is going to be the one that's, the x value is the one that's squared. So we'll get x squared equals 4 times our negative 1/2 y. X squared equals negative 2y then would be our equation. Looks like we've got coordinates at 2, negative 2, and negative 2, negative 2. And then at 4, negative 8, negative 4, negative 8. And our parabola looks something like that. Again, this one's not too bad if we want to graph it in the calculator. Again, we're solving for y, so we have to divide by the negative 2. So y should be negative 1/2 x squared as you graph it into your calculator. So some similar things happen when our vertex is not at 0, 0. Some things are not changing. The p being positive or negative is staying the same. So opening up or to the right, positive p, opening down or to the left, negative p. This time you just have to pay attention to the fact that p is halfway from the focus to the directrix. Okay, this is the important thing. Once you find your focus and directrix, your p is halfway in between the focus and the directrix, and that's where your vertex is. So if we wanted to try this one here, they tell us the focus is at 3, 2, the directrix is at the line y equals 0. Again, just from this, we should know that it opens up. So from that, we would check what's the distance from our directrix to our focus. Well, our distance from our focus to directrix is that vertical distance 2. So p is going to be half of that. P is 1. So since p is the distance from the focus or the directrix to our vertex, then we know we should move down 1 from our focus in order to find our vertex. So we move down 1 from the focus to find the vertex, which means our vertex is going to be at 3, 1. We found that p is 1. We know it opens up, so that means it's going to be an x squared. So we take x minus the x coordinate squared equals 4 times p, which was 1, y minus the y coordinate. And that's how they got our equation there. So we have a focus at -1, -1. Focus is here. Directrix at x equals 5. And that's going to be here. So from this, I know it opens left. That's the big thing here. Now, vertical directrix means it's going to be a horizontal parabola. Again, we're opening to the left, it's horizontal. So what I always check for next is what's my distance from my focus to my directrix. So it's got a horizontal distance of 6, which means halfway, half of that is 3. But because it's opening left, my p-value is going to be -3 because it's opening left. And because it's opening left, that's telling me that the y value is going to be the one that is squared. So this means I need to move right 3 from the focus to get the vertex. Move right 3. So that means my vertex is going to be at 2, -1. So they do that a little bit differently up here. We get to the same thing. So the value of your x value of your focus is at -1. Your x value of your directrix is at 5. So that gets you your p-value of -3 that we got down here. Your k then is the y-coordinate of your focus, which is -1. So now they are finding their h, the x-coordinate, which is at 2. And then they set up our equation. So remember, 4p has to be 4 times -3. So the y term is squared here. And then our 4p is going to be -12 x minus 2 based on our vertex coordinates. Again, this is where you have to be very careful if you want to plug this into your calculator to plot points. So we start with y plus 1 squared is -12 x minus 2. So if we want to solve this for y, we'll have to take the square root. So we get y plus 1 equals plus or minus square root of -12 times x minus 2. And then you have to subtract the 1. So -1 plus or minus square root -12 x minus 2. Again, though, from here, you have to actually plot 2 different lines. So you need to plot -1 plus square root -12 times x minus 2. And you also plot y equals -1 minus square root of -12 x minus 2. And that way you'll get to see the whole picture of your parabola so that you can plot your coordinates.